Welcome to another episode of the NeoLiberal podcast. My name is Renaldo McKenzie. Today is the Castro v Trump Part 3 series, and we have with us none other than John Anthony Castro. Well, I'm not sure if he's on us yet, but we are waiting on him to join us today for a powerful series. But we have breaking news. And let me see if this is Mr. Castro. Sure. Let's go look again. We are waiting for Mr. John Anthony Castro to join us for the meeting. But as you recall, this is part 3 of a series entitled the Castro v Trump series. Mr. John Anthony Castro is a US 2024 presidential candidate, and he is staking his 2024 presidential campaign or his bid on this particular issue, saying that, and he has sued Mr. Donald Trump, saying that Mr. Trump is not eligible to be a 2024 presidential candidate because of his participation in the January 6th insurrection. In the sense that he violates Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. But there is breaking news. And of course, we're going to ask Mr. Castro to give us an update as to what is going on in terms of his trial or his suit against Mr. Trump. But we have breaking news. Stuart, and I just tweeted this, Stuart Rhodes has been convicted of seditious conspiracy and sentenced to 18 years in prison by a federal judge, Amita Mehta, for his role in the January 6th insurrection or attack against the Capitol. While he didn't participate directly in the violence, he played a pivotal role in sparking it and encouraged others. Now, I have said that, and I just said this is no different from what Mr. John Anthony Castro is arguing and suing Mr. Donald J. Trump over. And as such, this may provide some jurisdictional precedent. I'm not sure, but I want to discuss this with Mr. John Castro today. And he's actually here. He just joined us. So, and let me bring up my screen because I'm reading from something here. And Mr. Castro is he is with us. Hey, John,
hey,
welcome.
Sorry about that.
Welcome, John. Welcome. How are you?
Good.
That is great. Let me fix my tie. You know, I'm a fan of Stephen A. Smith, and he gets on JJ Reddick talking about he needs to fix his tie. There we go. Yeah. Now, and I see that you are not wearing a tie today. I mean, do you watch John? Have you watched the Netflix series Your Honor?
No.
Well, the guy that is the main character in Breaking Bad, I can't remember his name, Broadshot, something of the sort. He's the main character in Your Honor. It's a Netflix series. It's a powerful series. And there's a scene where one of the main protagonists, the boss, is not wearing his tie. And he tells his son, you know why I'm not wearing a tie? Because no one tells me what to do because I'm the boss.
Yeah.
Anyway, but welcome again to the NeoLiberal podcast. Good to see you, John.
Yeah, good to see you again too.
I know you were dealing with a bug, and I read a story about you. Was it in Cool newspaper? I can't remember the name of it. And
yeah, K News.
What is it called?
K News.
K News, and I read, and I learned something about you that I didn't know. I heard that you are into gardening.
Yeah.
Oh wow! And that you love one of your favorite plants. Is it mulberry or something of the sort?
Yeah. Well, I have everything, and they're all self-planted too. You know, I have orange trees, apple, pears, plums, peaches. I have a mulberry tree. About 40 bushes: raspberry, blackberry, blueberry.
Yes.
started putting together a little grape vineyard as well. I have a little strawberry patch. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun.
All right.
It's therapeutic.
It is therapeutic. And my father was a gardener himself. I love gardening. So it's good to know that about you. One of these days I probably have to visit your gardens. I want to see what you're doing.
Oh yeah. It's good.
But
it's fun.
I'm happy. Listen, John, so many people have been, quite a few, some of my friends, some of my fraternity brothers, a lot of people follow the show, and they want to know what's going on with the Castro v Trump trial. What's going on? What's the latest?
So let me give you an update.
Yes.
So as I had suspected, Judge Eileen Cannon has not responded. On Monday, June 5th, it's going to officially be 90 days that she has not ruled on the motion to dismiss. Now, at 90 days, in accordance with the local federal court rules for the Southern District of Florida, by law, she has to then send a notice and an explanation to the parties. And basically, it's you're past the red line that the courts have set. The average response time for a judge's ruling on a motion to dismiss is 30 days. 30. We're reaching 90.
Yes.
It's pretty clear. And then the Federal Election Commission, which, for those that have been really following since the beginning, they'll know that I sued the Federal Election Commission in 2022 to basically say Trump shouldn't be a candidate. They successfully argued, and the DC Circuit upheld that the FEC doesn't have the power to make that determination.
Okay.
Well, interestingly, the FEC has delisted me as a candidate. So they argued in federal court that they don't have the authority to determine eligibility. Yet now, in my case, they are delisting me as a candidate. I still don't know why. I filed my FEC report. Everything seemed fine, but I thought that was really strange. But there seems to be some weird effort there to try to discredit my candidacy. I think they're under the mistaken assumption that federal law can dictate who is and isn't a candidate, and that's just not how it works. So
they are delisting you, saying that. What does that mean, to delist you?
I mean, if you search for me as a presidential candidate, I'm not listed on the FEC's website anymore. So I'm going to refile the Form 2 statement of candidacy again. Again, don't really know why they've done that. I've sent an email. There's been no response. So it's pretty bizarre. But it seems to be some sort of a concerted effort I don't know, again, to try to somehow, say that I'm not a candidate. But, whatever it is, to me, it's irrelevant. I know the law, federal law doesn't dictate who is and isn't a candidate, as the FEC clearly argued and successfully won already in federal court. So what we did is we filed a notice. It's called a motion for ruling and a motion for expedited consideration. We filed that just about 4 or 5 days ago. We filed it this week, basically letting Judge Eileen Cannon know that we intend to file a writ of mandamus with the 11th Circuit to compel her to rule on this. But this time it's going to be a lot more forceful, because the first writ of mandamus that we submitted to the 11th Circuit was, hey, they don't want to let me e-file. They're trying to make it hard for me to prosecute this case. They turned around and said, no, we don't think there's any First Amendment right to electronic filing. Then the second writ of mandamus was she refused to recuse from the case. She's clearly biased. Everybody in the public knows it. There's no question that her objectivity can be reasonably questioned. And the 11th Circuit said, nope, the only thing that you cited to question her bias is the fact that she intervened in the Trump case and the Trump investigation. There was legal grounds for her doing that. Ultimately, she lost, but a legal position can never be grounds for recusal. So again, they're kind of giving justice is blind a whole new meaning. And so now we have this issue where she's taking 90 days to rule on a motion to dismiss on an issue of national importance. Yes. And so now we have to go back to the 11th Circuit again and be like, guys, at what point are you going to open up your eyes to the reality of what's happening here? She's not ruling. And we called her out in the motion. The motion says that we know we've established standing. So she knows she can't get the case dismissed on that grounds.
Right.
And even if she did, we'd get it swiftly overturned on appeal. And then we'd be back to square one where we're at right now, which is that she either has to say that there is no claim because Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is not self-executing. But if she does that to dismiss the case, Trump loses his only criminal defense to criminal prosecution by Jack Smith if he gets indicted. But if she finds that there is a claim, then that now jeopardizes Trump in potentially being declared constitutionally ineligible. And so I ended the motion by basically saying that the court knows this, that there's no good outcome for Trump in this case. So rather than having to rule, she's chosen to do, again, the illegal thing, which is just, I'm not going to do my job. I'm not going to issue a ruling because there's no ruling that goes in Trump's favor. And she knows that.
How long can she delay? How long can she delay ruling?
Indefinitely until the 11th Circuit grows a spine and forces her to. So
is this
that's
legal? Is this legal? Really? Is this
no,
legal?
it deprives me of my First Amendment right to seek redress of grievances in the federal judiciary, and the 11th Circuit can't ignore this. Like
Yes.
they technically can, and they get, but nobody's ever defined how long is too long. And in this case, we're going to argue that 90 days for an issue of national importance like this is too long. 30 days is too long. But again, it's up to the 11th Circuit. In the 11th Circuit, they could say, no, we think she needs more time to research the issue. We'd have to wait another 90 days and go back. But what they don't realize is I'm not going anywhere. You know, I've already put together we already have a place picked out in New Hampshire. I'm going to be heading up there probably in either the last week of June or early July.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start knocking on doors. I'm meeting with state legislatures. So members of the state house of New Hampshire, the state Senate. I'm going to start picking up endorsements. So we have a plan. I don't want to give too much away on the show of what our plan is, because I'm pretty sure they're laughing, being like, what Republican's going to endorse you? But it's just like, don't worry. That I've been underestimated from day one. I love it. It gives me a huge strategical advantage. So they are going to be completely blindsided when they see what I'm able to do boots on the ground. And when filing season comes for the candidacy, we already have the whole infrastructure in place to get the signatures we need. I'm going to be on the New Hampshire primary ballot as a presidential candidate. So whether the hell they like it or not, this is going to happen. It's going to happen. So,
Yes.
but again, right now they're trying to do everything that they can to abuse the Federal Election Commission, abuse the federal judiciary.
Yeah, and I have a question.
Everything they can to try to stop me.
Because some time ago, you had sued the Federal Elections Commission, saying that they should not allow Donald Trump to be on the ballot as a candidate. But then the ruling was that they do not have that determination. The FEC cannot rule in terms of determining who can run and who can't, only as it relates to campaign financing. So what right does the FEC have to delist you?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure at all. So, I mean, it's something I'm still waiting for a response from them to try to find out. But to be honest, I'm not terribly concerned because it's just like, they don't have the authority to determine eligibility. They already argued and the court's already ruled in their favor on that. So they shot themselves in the foot. And so, and that's what people tend to miss a lot of times about me is there's a broader war. I may lose a particular legal battle, but they don't realize how that plays into the larger war. And so, bit by bit, we're moving in. And with this court case, this was supposed to be a pretty big step. But again, they slowly realized that I had them checkmated. And no matter what move they made next, that's it. Trump is done. And it makes sense now why, the MAGA faction within the Republican Party, DeSantis is their spare tire. That's it. That's why they have him in there, because they know that I'm this close to knocking out Trump. And if that happens, then they need a backup. And DeSantis is that backup. And so that's the only function and role that he's playing. So we'll
I want to ask you about DeSantis. But before I get into DeSantis, one more thing, a big news happening. And just before you got onto the show, I was talking about it. Stuart Rhodes, the leader of the Oath Keepers, he was convicted and sentenced by a federal court judge, sentenced to 18 years in prison for his pivotal role, according to the sentence, according to the judge, pivotal role in sparking the violence and encouraging others to do so, and for seditious conspiracy. And he did not particularly or directly participate in it, but this for his role, his pivotal role. Do you believe that, isn't that the same argument that you are making as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Provide you a precedence in a sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No question about it. I mean, this is now established that there is, so it's kind of like a RICO case. What you have to do is you have to first establish, like RICO is how they go after the mafia. And then if they can prove that you're a part of the mafia, and then they get one person in your network charged with a crime, they can effectively hold everybody else accountable. Well, the same thing applies in the terms of a conspiracy. Once you've established that there was, in fact, sedition, which is synonymous with insurrection. Yes. So once you've established that there's an insurrection, the next thing you have to establish is that there was a conspiracy. Once you establish that, anybody that even played a minor part in that conspiracy can now be held liable. And so that's how they call it, like it's like all the spokes on a wheel, right? The wheel is the conspiracy, and then there's all these multiple spokes on that wheel that played a pivotal role. So with that being said, that's how they got him. And we all know who that center spoke is. That's individual one. That's Donald Trump.
Yes.
And so interestingly, all these guys, Steve Rhodes and Enrique Torres, they all started blaming Trump at the end, basically saying like, he's the reason that we went. So there's no question that it's established now in the record that Trump is a part of that conspiracy. It's just a matter of dotting out all the I's, crossing all the T's. Yes. And of course, what Jack Smith's primary concern is indicting Trump, and then Trump arguing that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment prevents his criminal prosecution. And again, that's the reason why Trump viewed that as the ace up his sleeve that I'm now forcing him to put on the table. Yes. And so if I can get a ruling on that in the Southern District of Florida, then either way it goes, it's either going to result in his constitutional disqualification or his criminal prosecution. So pick your poison.
This is quite interesting. And by the way, I am wondering if they're delaying the case. They know that the FEC, this is probably conspiracy theory, but they delisted the FEC, they delisted you. But and then of course at the same time the FEC they're trying to say that you do not have standing as a candidate.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely comes down to that. Yeah, yes. Absolutely. Yeah. They're trying to neutralize any argument, right? So it's like, they're worried, well, he can hang his hat on the fact that he's listed on the FEC's website as a presidential candidate. Yes. And so they want to, not that that's like the end all be all, but if they can neutralize that, it's one less argument that I guess they think that I can make. What they don't realize is what makes a person a candidate is if they're pursuing the nomination. Yeah. And I've stated publicly, I'm pursuing the nomination. I have a campaign website. I have campaign videos. I'm registered with winred.com. I haven't raised too much money yet, but it's because I'm self-financing. I have a loan document showing I made my a loan to my campaign. So, that's it. With the next report that comes out, it's going to show probably about maybe $15,000, $20,000 worth of expenses have incurred so far. So yeah, again, it's they can try like hell to prevent this, but at the end of the day, there's nothing they can do.
And just to clarify, and for people who are going to be watching and listening, just to clarify, to be delisted doesn't necessarily mean that you are not a candidate and not registered. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It just means for whatever reason, it's just an action by some bureaucrat, that probably thinks, harebrained idea, like, oh, if we delist him, he's not a candidate. It's just like, dude, that's not how the law works. Candidacy is based on a person's actions, not paperwork. And that's exactly what they argued in court. So I'm only reiterating their own words now and turning it on them. So they were all happy when they won the FEC case, and now that FEC case is coming back to haunt them.
And let's talk about Ron DeSantis a little bit. Ron DeSantis is running, and he's a Republican. He's a Republican like yourself. I mean, not like yourself in that sense, but he's running. And you just mentioned earlier that he's on the ticket. But what chances do you think he has of winning? Because I have said he's anti-inclusive, he's anti-diversity. He's seen as that with his attack on Black academics. I said to my friends, once you see somebody Black on the back of a book, that's critical race theory. You know what I mean? He may not be talking about critical, but that can be described as, what if that creates some feelings? You know, it's just too general. But, and of course, you talk about Mickey Mouse. I saw the tweet that you had about his attack against Mickey Mouse and the kids. What chances do you have you think Ron DeSantis have of winning?
If Trump doesn't get disqualified or in some way, forced off of the campaign trail, DeSantis has zero chance, absolutely zero. Again, he's the spare tire. He's just the backup plan. That's it.
Yes.
And they put him center stage because what they didn't want is a weird scenario where everybody else gets iced out. It's only me and Trump. And then halfway into the primary, Trump gets disqualified. And then by happenstance, I become the only viable option. So they don't want that, right? Because they're smart. It's a chess game. And so that's why DeSantis is there. And so that way DeSantis would then swoop in. The MAGA faction would rally behind DeSantis reluctantly, but they would do it. And then at that point, he would, secure the nomination. So, yeah, I would say, absent something happening to Trump, dies of natural causes or, gets. Here's the thing: is that everybody thinks that just because he gets indicted by Jack Smith, or let's say he gets indicted for seditious conspiracy,
right?
It's going to take time for him to get convicted, and it's not going to be before the election. And even if he was convicted of seditious conspiracy, that still is not enough to trigger Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment has to be enforced civilly. It has to be a civil determination. Now, individual states would have more grounds at that point to disqualify Trump, but there's very few states where they have the Secretary of State is empowered with the authority to unilaterally make that decision. In Arizona, he can. The Arizona Secretary of State, and he's aware of it because he's an attorney and we've talked. He's aware that he has that power because the Ninth Circuit has already ruled that. But technically, the Supreme Court could overturn the Ninth Circuit's ruling on that and say, no, Secretaries of State don't have the individual power to unilaterally make that call. So again, everything's still up in the air. There's still a path to the presidency for Trump, and it's real, and people are not taking it serious. And I can tell you that this court case, in my mind, is the only way. It's the only way. Because everything else is going to take too long to accomplish. Because Trump is going to challenge the indictment, even if Jack Smith announced it today, right? Like, let's say June 1st, he announces it. Monday, June 5th, he announces it. There's not enough time. Just to quash the motion, it's 6 months. Pre-trial discovery, another 12 months. It's not in time for the election. And if he gets back into the presidency, he'll be able to fire Jack Smith and dismantle the entire process. So, yeah, I mean, people don't like it, and they especially don't like me to repeat it. Sorry, my voice is still recovering. They definitely don't like me to repeat it, but this court case that I have truly is the only viable option to stopping Trump's candidacy.
Yeah, because his popularity is, he has a tight base. And right now, President Biden is a little bit solid. I'm sorry, not solid. I believe his approval rate is, I think, just dropped to 40% or 35 or 36%. And the economy is the economy, there seems to be a recession that's looming. Yeah, people are struggling everywhere. And I'm not sure what people are thinking that probably Donald Trump, his base is growing in a sense. So as you said, he stands a real chance. Now, tell me what's going on with your campaign. You were just telling us about it. What's the next step for you?
Yeah. So next step is, like I said, in pretty much next month, in about 3 weeks, I'm going to be heading up to New Hampshire for my first round. That's going to be primarily not with the people. That's going to be with legislators. So I'm trying to get some critical key endorsements from unions, state elected officials, local officials. You know, a primary election, a lot of people don't fully grasp this. It took me a while to understand party politics, but you're basically dealing with a lot of different factions within the Republican Party. You have you have the libertarian camp, you have the MAGA camp, you have your principled conservatives camp, you have your abortion camp, the single issue voters,
Yeah.
and so you have to go and you have to meet with all these people, these different groups, and whoever can unite all these different factions, is the one who's going to be able to secure the nomination. It reminds me a lot of the feudal system back in England, where the king wasn't really the king, right? Like he was just the spokesperson, almost like the chairman of the board for all the local lords that had their own armies and stuff like that. The king, had an army as well, and everybody pledged their ultimate loyalty to him. But a lot of times it was just networking with all these, these feudal lords, and that's a lot what party politics is. There's all these various factions, and they all control blocks of voters, and so you got to get as many of those leaders as possible. You get the leader, you're going to get all the votes that they effectively control, and it's not control in like a nefarious way. It's just that it's a common interest. And so, and they all trust one elder. And if that person says, this is the person we're backing, for the most part, 98% of them are going to do it, because they trust that person. And so, so that's what I'm going after. And we have a very unique, never before done strategy. And it's going to really piss off the establishment.
Yes.
But it's going to create a lot of ruffles in New Hampshire. New Hampshire and Iowa, we're looking for a breakout performance, because if I can start polling at 5-10%, even Fox News is going to be forced to give me a spot on stage. So for now, we know that this campaign is not going to be taken serious. It's going to be until the elections next February and March, when they see the performance of the campaign in New Hampshire and Iowa. That's going to be our breakout moment. But for now, even the media's icing us out. And I can tell you, I think I explained this before, but just for the viewers again, the mainstream media, the liberal part, they're shutting me out because they want Trump to be the nominee, because they think that if it's Trump v. Biden again, Biden wins in a landslide, even though polls are starting to come out saying that might not be accurate. And then, of course, the conservative media, they're shutting me out because they're just like, nope, it's either Trump or DeSantis. We're going to ignore everybody else, especially a renegade, like Castro, that's just, trying to, create problems within the party. So I'm the one thing they can agree on hating.
I have one last, I have several questions because I wanted to get your opinion on the what's going on in terms of the debt crisis in this country. And there's, I think President Biden and McCarthy, they're trying to meet and the Republicans, they're trying to come to some kind of, there's a stalemate. Probably, I don't know what's going to happen there. But I wanted to get your opinion. But then while talking, I said, I need to ask you a question. A question popped in my head and I got an epiphany, so to speak. And because I was reading K News and I read something about you, and it said that I read where the first time when you ran to be a senator, you filed very late, so you had about 20 days, something of the sort, to campaign, and you got about 86,000 votes. 86,000 votes, and but I said to you, didn't win, but then you're now running as a president. Why did you decide to move from? Why didn't you decide not to go back to try to run for that seat again and to cast your sights on the presidency?
Number one, to really just show, like, at the end of the day, I'm an executive. I don't want to just be a congressman or senator. I have a very bold vision about where we can take this country economically, politically, militarily. I feel like we're losing right now to China. They're outsmarting us in genetics, in computer technology, militarily, primarily Navy. They're getting really, really good at that. And I want to push us back at the forefront of everything. I'm an American supremacist. I believe in it. I believe that we've been blessed with this leadership role in the world, and we can't take it for granted. And every time in human history, when a nation has taken that position for granted, they lose it.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen. And I want to fight hard, to make this country, amazingly better than it already is. It's already great, but there's always room to make it better. So, I figured, I'm going to make a run for the presidency. Probably, I don't know how many times Abraham Lincoln ran. I think it was 13 times before people got tired and just said, God damn it, just make him president, see what he does. And so I just, and it's funny too, because, they kind of attack me online. Sometimes they call me a perennial candidate, which is a gardening term to basically mean he just runs every single year. And I'm just like, yeah.
No pun intended.
I'm embracing that label. I am a perennial candidate. Yeah. And I'm at a point too where if I get elected to office one day and the people, see it fit to give me that opportunity, great. But other than that, I am going to continue running, campaigning every single time, and just continually every year building my base more and more and more. And I want to be a political influencer. I want to throw out my ideas. I want to give people, because what I've seen is that a lot of times, even though my candidacies aren't successful, people hear my ideas and run with them. And at first I used to get upset, hey, that was my idea and this guy kind of stole it. But now I'm just like, who cares? It's not about me. It's about those ideas of making this country better. So if they take it and they run with it and they make this country better, awesome. That at the end of the day, that's all I care about. Yeah. And so that's why, I wanted to put together a political podcast to kind of start putting out just ideas on how to improve the country, talk about issues, things like that. And it's really just to, again, influence politics in a positive way. So we stop talking about all this dumb stuff about, biological males and females and all these ridiculous cultural war topics, and start talking again about welfare reform, kind of the Clinton welfare to work, things that actually work, things that are going to spur economic activity. How do we make housing more affordable, so that everybody can own homes, all types of things, I want us to get back to debating issues. And I feel like when we have those debates, even though we fiercely disagree, and sometimes it can be name calling, at least we're talking about the goddamn issues. And, and what I love about this country is you have red and you have blue, and nobody ever really gets their way. What ends up coming out is the in-between, the purple, right? And it's something in between, sometimes a little more red, sometimes a little more blue, but it's always a hue of purple. And that's what I really love, about our system. The only good thing about the rigged two-party system. But that's kind of the purpose behind the candidacy. Number one, of course, is I want to neutralize Trump. I think he's toxic to our political culture. But after that's done, it's going to be shifting gears and getting back to the issues. And sometimes I struggle with this, because I remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, where he says, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Nice. And it's a great quote, but I just don't know about someone like Trump. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes I feel like, no, I think somebody needs to just take off the gloves, deal with this punk, put him into permanent retirement, and then we can talk about healing and getting back to the light. But for now, no, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's why sometimes there's angels like Michael the Archangel. Eventually God just gets tired, sends him down, and just says, you know what? deal with it.
Yes, yes. Wow, this is powerful. I like your answer. That was quite powerful. You talk about being as an executive, and the need for America to be more strategic, to be smart. I've oftentimes said that. I'm a little bit critical of I'm critical of Joe Biden. Yes, I am. I'm critical of what goes for politics in this country. We are so divisive, and but at the time, right now, China is being very strategic and they're getting ahead. And I believe that we need an executive who is strategic, who can outsmart what's going on in China. And we have to think strategically if we're going to win and keep winning. And I like that response. But of course, I like the other response that you gave in terms of getting back to the issues, debating the issues. I like that as well. I've oftentimes said that. But we are a capitalist country. We want to sell everything and make. We want to make money, so we want to sell our ideas. So how are we going to get around that? And that is what China had over us. Actually, China knows, and their ability to take advantage of. They have a market now, so
Yeah.
But thank you. Yeah, and you have the last word. You have the last word.
Yeah. So, I mean, so not this Monday, but on Monday, June 5th, we're going to be filing a writ of mandamus before the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit, asking the 11th Circuit to finally intervene and compel Judge Eileen Cannon to issue a ruling. I think strategically, the best move for her to delay this is to rule that I don't have standing. And then I'll have to get that swiftly overturned on appeal. And then the issue will be back before her again. Okay. I think at that time, they'll probably re-motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim again. But that time, I think we're going to do a writ of mandamus in 30 days, not this full 90, because it's too much. It's too much.
Yes.
And so,
so the one that you had before, that one was overturned, you said, and you're doing another one because of the delay tactics.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll be filing that this Monday, June 5th. So we should have a response within 30 days, which the 11th Circuit should rule on or before Independence Day, July 4th. And so hopefully, we start moving this case ahead. But just keep an eye out. Let's keep doing these podcasts, because
yes,
I have a spooky feeling they have something dirty planned.
Yes,
because I have them checkmated. And so I just want to state on the record that I am in perfect health. I have a cough. I'm getting over it, though. I'm in perfect health. I am mentally stable. I love my life. I love my wife, my children. I've never once thought of suicide. So anything happens to me, anything at all, I just want you to know it was Donald Trump.
Yes.
So yeah, I know that we're getting towards this part where his lawyers are going to let him know there's no route, like the judge is going to be compelled to make a decision. So, my wife, has been concerned. We have considered moving to a gated community, but yeah, we'll see how things go. So far, I haven't been poking the MAGA bear, so to speak. I'm just sticking to the game plan. Just gonna run a square campaign, go out there just like anybody else. All I have to do is just show that effort. That I'm out there. I'm reaching voters. It doesn't even have to be boots on the ground. Technically, I could just campaign digitally through social media. But I want to actually go out to New Hampshire because I want to approach this with I actually want to see if we can hit third place out or second place out in New Hampshire. I think it's possible because I really think that the MAGA crowd is going to be split between Trump and DeSantis. And I know that people that don't support Trump definitely don't support DeSantis. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things play out. So, there's an opportunity there where they split that group. And I can swoop in and possibly land a second spot, And if we can do number 2 or even spot number 3, then yeah.
Yeah, and I think Rolling Stone said that the Republican field, they are unfazed by DeSantis. They are unfazed by. I'm telling. They're unfazed by DeSantis.
Yeah.
to win as a presidential candidate in this country, you definitely need a certain block and a particular block as well. You know, you need a certain, and I believe that, and I have said this, DeSantis, he is too bold. Why are you so bold that you can piss off a whole block of people and think you can still run and win?
Yeah.
Excuse my language. But why can you take on and how can you project anti-diversity and anti-inclusivity? You know, but still expect, but you're gonna need to appeal to a base. And by the way, there's a new guy that just entered the race. What is he from? I can't remember the guy, an African American.
Oh, Vivek.
Yes. And he has entered the race. So he's gonna pull a certain kind of crowd.
Yeah, but he's still, all three of them are appealing to the MAGA crowd. That's the issue. Yeah. And so, Vivek, he's probably going to be a 1%er. The groups that I'm going after, well, I don't want to give away too much information.
Yes.
But the groups that I'm going after and the way that I'm going to put together a coalition, it's a lot different. And that is what's going to freak them out. Because we are going to, I'm going to outperform Vivek. There's no question about that. He doesn't stand a chance. But like I said, what we're trying to do and what we're putting together could possibly land me in spot number 2. Yeah. And so it's going to be very interesting. But again, it's a never before done strategy. But we've ran all the numbers and we're pretty certain that again, if I get number 2 spot in New Hampshire and Iowa, I'm in every presidential debate after that. Every presidential debate. So we're talking CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox News, everything. They can't
and the NeoLiberal Around podcast. And by the way, now, by the way, you mentioned is Sabrina your wife?
No, that's my daughter. Joanna's
your daughter. Sorry, I was reading it wrong. What's your wife's name?
Joanna.
Sorry, it's Joanna. I was reading it, and you guys got married in when was your marriage? When did you guys get together?
December 2007.
December of 2007, right? But you said that. Tell me, are there fears that you guys have because you were taking on Donald Trump? Those fear? And I know you mentioned it earlier. You have fear. You have fears that you might be endangered. Now your family, and you put you have that you're putting your life and your family.
Yeah, my wife has those concerns. Me personally, I qualify as an expert with the M16 in the military. The M16A1 assault rifle. So I'm fine. You'd have to have at least 36 people, and you'd have to get me within 17.8 seconds. I know that I can take care of myself, but still, there's my wife has that concern that they might try to do something to our children, right? Because they're cowards, and that's what cowards do, because they won't have the guts to come at me. So they'll try to come at children or the women and children, right? Because that's what cowards do. So that's the concern, is there might be one of those cowards out there that tries to do something crazy like that. I personally don't buy it. I'm not, fearful or intimidated by it. I'm ready for it if anything were to happen. But obviously, nobody wants that happening to their life or their family. So, but we'll make all the precautions. There's always a nut job out there. So.
Wow, this was great. Thank you so much. And we won't go too much. We're going to share this on Twitter in a few minutes and so on and so forth. But this was great. There's so much to talk about. But I'm gonna table it for now because I don't want to make it too long. They said I'm a long meter, so I'm gonna cut it short today because it's tax season. You are the president of AI Tax, which is a successful tax platform. And just so you know, so I wanted to ask you about that, but I don't know if I have time. But it's tax season. It's tax season.
Oh yeah. So we fully deployed. So we deployed AI Tax for the October 15th deadline last year. This year was the first year that we fully deployed it for all of our clients, and the feedback has been phenomenal. we still hit our target, which was a few million dollars that we generated in revenue. So that's been great, and we are on the brink of finishing the completely standalone version of the software, which basically gives us unlimited scalability. Because right now we can only have about 300 to 500 customers using AI tax. Once we're done with the standalone version, we could have 10,000 a day, and there's no limit. So at that point, imagine our revenue, like how much we're generating right now with only 500 customers, and then how much we'll be generating, when we can do an unlimited amount of returns. So
and I have a question. So you said what's the A and the I for AI tax mean? What does
artificial intelligence?
And I know that was, but I deliberately asked you that question because there's this big thing about AI. There's this thing. Thing about what is the involvement of you and your company in this kind of mapping it to tax? Probably that's a new strategy that you want to do, that you have.
So I started working on this in 2019 or no 2018. I formalized the application to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office in 2019. We received our first patent in 2021, and then a second patent in 2021, and then a third patent. No, so the second one was in 2022, and the third one was in 2023. So, and it was before all the hype about artificial intelligence. So then when ChatGPT came out and all the hype started, people started finding out about our company. And there were a lot of other companies that were trying to go into the tax world with artificial intelligence, and now they're realizing they can't because we have the patents and we could sue the crap out of them if they did that. So what they didn't know is that secretly behind the scenes, our company had been valued at 180 million. And we were putting together the groundwork to raise capital. The market took a big hit in a downturn. And so it was for the best though, because when ChatGPT came out, we realized that we didn't need to raise as much money as we thought because ChatGPT can do Python coding. And so now we can use ChatGPT to effectively complete the rest of the coding of the software. So long story short is we don't have to give up. We're going to have to give up maybe about 23% of the company to raise the 40 million. But now we don't need to do that. So we're going to finish it this year. And then we're going to reinvest all the proceeds to grow the client base to really show how much we can generate. So like this year, for example, like just with the 300 to 500 clients that we have, we're going to generate somewhere between, probably 2 to 4 million.
Yeah.
When next year, when we deploy the fully standalone software, that revenue is going to go up probably 50 to 100 times more. So it's going to look like the revenue that we are generating now is going to be just peanuts in comparison. So it's going to be pretty phenomenal, and that's going to be right around the time of Super Tuesday, and when the presidential campaign is really starting to beef up. So if we hit our mark, which is we have a certain goal of what we're trying to generate in revenue. That's going to be a lot of additional revenue that I can pump into the campaign.
Yeah.
So if we can have that breakout performance in New Hampshire and Iowa, that'll be right around the time that I need, where we'll start generating all the revenue, and that's just going to then turn into fuel for the campaign. So it's 2024 is going to be a very interesting year. Very interesting.
I have this goosebumps. This is amazing talking with you, by the way, because I asked you earlier about why this big jump, and you talked about we need people to think in terms of strategy. And can I tell you, that's one of the factors that I use to determine who do I vote for the next president. And that answer was quite profound and powerful. We need strategists in this country. And the fact that you have demonstrated that by starting the AI tax, and of course, because I actually was thinking about it earlier, here you are started AI tax in 2017, 2018, and everybody's talking about AI, artificial intelligence. So if you had a patent prior to now, the potential for your company and the business and the ideas you have, I'm now partnering and working with Statista in terms of news, and they have provided a lot of information and facts. And I'm going to be sharing some news about AI, artificial intelligence, the revolution, how AI is transforming industries. I'm about to release that shortly. Statista shared that with me, and I did another news article about that in the NeoLiberal.com, but it is quite powerful. So, I mean, so I'm saying you are revolutionary and you are way above your time.
Oh, yeah. It's
so that is something to consider when we think about your presidency. How can people get a hold of you and your run? How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, campaign website for sure. johncastro.com. That's going to be the easiest way to reach out to me. I'm also on Twitter, and I have an open inbox. Anybody wants to shoot me a message, just go ahead. People always freak out when I respond. They'll send me a message and then I'll reply, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you responded!" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sitting down watching a movie with my kids. It's like, how can I help you?"
Yeah, man, regular man,
like,
married, regular man, family man, American man with and big dreams. You a working man that is doing well and wants to do even more. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we hope I will take you up on this idea to do more political shows, talking about the issues as well, talking about how to thinking about some of these issues. That's powerful, and we will do another part, and we will do part 4 probably in a couple of weeks from now. But we'll as we get details and as we get more information about it. But we just want to thank you and wish you all the best. And we want to promote, and I believe that you're going to do well. I feel it. I know it. You will do well. And I hope that, of course, you become the next president of the United States of America. That is our dream. That is why we have you on the show, and we keep supporting you.
Yeah, thanks.
So
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. And this is the NeoLiberal podcast. We're all about serving the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges by making popular what was the monopoly, because that is the aim of communication. Visit us at anchor.fm/the NeoLiberal. What good. And that's it. Thank you, John.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was nice seeing you again.
We'll keep in touch, and I wish you all the best for the it's Memorial weekend, so I wish you all the best for the weekend.
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Take care.
See you. Bye-bye.